What's going on, everybody? My name is Ben, and welcome back to another episode of Ben Builds. We're back on the bench with our Team Yankee T-64s. This is episode number 3, and today, guys, we're going to be focusing on detail painting. Now, before we get started, though, I do have to apologize for the state of my voice. I actually caught a wicked cold about a week ago, and it completely destroyed me. But we're going to push through today. We're going to try to get some content out to you guys because you know what? I got to get these things done. Like I said, we're going to be working on some detail painting today, such as the tracks, the heavy machine guns on the turrets. We have to paint the RPG side skirts here, and we have to paint the canvas shroud around the main gun. We also have the unditching beam at the very back here and little bits and pieces here and there. For the most part, we have a lot to paint. Now, we're going to be using these colors here. This is a gray canvas color that we have that we're going to use for our front shroud. We have this track primer we're using for the actual tracks, and then we have this rubber color here that's going to be used for the RPG side skirts. Now, ideally, I would love to be able to use these in conjunction with my airbrush and just airbrush everything because I'm a much better airbrusher than I am a brush painter. But that's not really going to work because a lot of these colors, A, they're kind of thick, so you'd have to use some thinner as well as some flow improver, which, again, thank you, Joe, for the heads up on this. It actually is a beautiful combination, but we're just not going to be able to get the airbrush where we need them to be. All these little areas, especially the canvas areas, would be almost impossible for me to airbrush, so we're going to have to resort to brush painting. Now, for brush painting, we're going to be starting off here with the tracks. Now, these tracks, like I said, are going to be using track primer. This is what my friend wants me to use. We also have our brushes, and we have our paint cup. Now, what we're going to do is we're just going to drop a little bit here in our paint cup. Now, I could use a little bit of airbrush thinner and some flow improver and airbrush the rest of it. But again, trying to get this paint through the airbrush, I always have trouble with Vallejo. But also then trying to get that airbrush nozzle down in between the road wheels and all the little nooks and crannies would be very difficult to do, and I don't really want to have to fool with that. So the airbrush is going aside. We're just going to be using some brush painting. Now, I'm pretty sure we should be able to just drop a little bit of the track primer color into our paint cup. If we need to, we can add a little bit of flow improver to help kind of kick it into high gear. But otherwise, I think we're ready to go. Let's go ahead and just try it out and see what we can do. All right, everybody, so we have the tracks all nicely painted. Not too difficult, a lot easier with the brush than it would have been with the airbrush for sure. So we're going to move on then to the khaki color for the canvas right around the main gun. Now I'm going to be doing the exact same thing, though I am going to go ahead and use a little bit of flow improver and a little bit of airbrush thinner because this paint for some reason is super thick and I don't want to just glop it on. I want it a little bit thinner. So we're going to use some of this Vallejo product right here. Get this a little bit thinner so I could just go ahead and draw it right on where it needs to go. Not bad. Color looks good. Let's go ahead and push forward and get the rest of them done. All right, everybody, so we have all the canvas nicely painted, and we're going to move on now to the side skirts. Now the side skirts, the paint here for the side skirts is a kind of a rubber color. It's kind of a burnt rubber color, and we're going to have to go ahead and drop a little bit of flow improver and a little bit of thinner in there because this paint also, much like the khaki, is extremely thick. I don't want that to be. So we're going to have to just mix that up, make sure we can get that to flow easily, and then we're going to work panel by panel all along the sides of each of the T-64s. A lot of work here, but you know what? We can do it. All right, everybody, so we have our side panels all nicely painted up, and I'm going to be moving over to the heavy machine gun, which I'm going to be using a NATO black. Now, I was originally going to be using a gunmetal color, but the gunmetal color that I had is actually dried out, and it's not going to work. So instead, we're going to switch over to NATO black. Now, I typically will use this for my own guns on smaller scales. It looks fine. I'm not too worried about it. Plus, I can hit it with a little bit of dry brushing later on, and it should give it a nice metallic color. At least that's my goal. So let's go ahead and dip a little bit and paint all the guns. Now the guns themselves are in a cradle, and that cradle is going to be the same color as the Russian green. So I want to make sure I can only paint the gun, the breech, and then the barrel, and leave the barrel bands and all the mounting hardware the green color. I'm going to have to be really careful though, because I don't want to paint over everything and have to come back with that green color, because chances are I'm not going to be able to really reproduce that, because this green color is layer upon layer of different varying shades of green. We went ahead and did all the guns. They are all painted a NATO black, and I think, honestly, guys, it's looking pretty good. The tracks are done. That little canvas shroud up there is done. Everything is coming along nicely. Though we do have one more thing I want to tackle today, and that is this back unditching beam that hangs off the back of the tank. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take a desert yellow color, and we're going to go ahead and paint each of those that desert yellow, and then we're going to come back and we're going to dry brush over top of it with a flat brown. That should look really, really cool. I've actually done one here off camera, and I like how it looks. It's got a little bit of detail in there, and then it's got the nice tinted brown color. So I think it looks pretty decent. So first start out with all the sand color, then dry brush with that flat brown. I think we'll get a really nice looking color. So let's go ahead and cue that time lapse, guys, and get everything painted and then dry brushed and see how we do. All right, everybody, we are done with the detail painting. We've done it. We've finished it finally. So here is the command version of the T-64. As you can see, we have the tracks painted up in that nice track primer. We've got the anti-RPG skirts on there. We've got the canvas up front around the gun. We've got the unditching beam in the back and the heavy machine gun. Here is the non-command vehicle. Same exact paint job, except we don't have an open cupola. That is closed up. But I think, guys, we are looking really, really snazzy. So now what we're going to do is we're going to come back and I'm going to go ahead and paint each of the tanks with a sealant coat. We're going to be using a semi-gloss coat. I've got some 1-to-1 mixture ratio of Winsor Newton flat and then some Future to go ahead and give it a little bit of a semi-gloss finish. So now we're going to paint everything else in that semi-gloss sealant coat and then we'll be ready next episode for decals. All right, everybody, here we go with 15 T-64s, all detail painted and sealed. Whew, that was a long run today, guys. Now we have the paint itself all nicely covered with my own custom mixture of semi-gloss. We used some Winsor Newton flat and we used some Future, combined about 50-50, 1 part each, and we've come out with a really nice looking semi-gloss coat. Now that's going to go ahead and dry, and once it's all cured, we can come back and we can put on some decals. There are some decals on the turrets that we need to go ahead and place, but we'll do that next episode. I think honestly for today, we're going to go ahead and call it quits because I don't want to screw up any of the paint or sealant coat before it has a time to fully cure. So let's just go ahead and leave it be. Like I said, next episode, we're going to come back and I'm going to start with the decaling. We're going to decal all of the turret sides, but I think, guys, these are looking pretty sweet. Hope you guys are digging the episodes because I'm having a lot of fun painting these up. It is a little tedious for sure. I'm not used to doing something with this small of a scale, but so far so good. Anyway, until next episode, you guys know the drill. Go out there, get yourself some bench time, have some fun, build something cool, and we'll see you back here on the next episode of Ben Builds. Thanks so much, everybody. We'll see you soon.